intentionally open.
Arizona holds the card right now. Is it going to be Kyler Murray?
Takes a shot down the middle of the field. Touchdown!
He is a pocket passer first and then can provide that explosive running afterwards.
This guy will cut you up from the pocket. That's his game. And there is a lot of desire for that kind of game in the NFL. Throws deep middle, caught for a touchdown.
Lost in all this quarterback talk is Nick Bosa, the defensive end out of Ohio State. I think he's NFL ready right now. You could have 11 defensive linemen go in the first round.
Caught behind the line by Devin White.
Quinnen Williams, he was a destructive player. Greedy Williams, who says, no, no, no.
This is as loaded a draft class in the defensive line as I can remember. It's 20 years.
The Combine is over, and we now sit 50 days from the NFL Draft to look at this year's draft order with the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. The Cardinals with the #1 overall pick. Welcome to our SportsCenter special, Todd McShay's Mock Draft 3.0. With me, of course, the man of the hour, Todd McShay, and his sidekick, sorry Mel, only for this show, Mel Kiper Jr. We'll get to the biggest storylines of this year's draft, and none bigger than Kyler Murray, who could be the most polarizing player on the board, and his stock rising after measuring over 5'10" at the Combine. He was far from the only player to improve their stock in Indy. Blazing speed was on display all week. The collective 40 times from all 261 players, the highest at a single Combine since '06. That included impressive performances on the defensive side of the ball, which is loaded. In Mel's latest big board, his top 5 prospects, all front 7 players on defense. And perhaps no team will make more draft noise than will the Oakland Raiders. That's because they hold not 1, not 2, but 3 first-round picks. The Packers are the only other team with 2. So guys, before we start, I'll remind you that every discussion will have our mock clock, and when that clock hits 0, yes, we have to move on. So Todd, without further ado, you have the Cardinals taking whom with the #1 pick?
I gave in to peer pressure, basically. I went with Kyler Murray, the quarterback from Oklahoma. It was all the talk in Indianapolis. I mean, you couldn't get away from it. And part of me still thinks that maybe it was all a smokescreen, and it could be to try to get a team to lure them up to #1 overall and get a lot of picks in order to do so. But at the end of the day, it makes sense from a schematic standpoint. And by that I mean in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, Kyler Murray, it can get the ball out. He can be that point guard. He also can add to it. They haven't had a lot of, in the air raid offense, a lot of mobility or guys that can actually take off and run. And I think that would be beneficial to this offense in the NFL, where speed and the pass rush can become a problem. I think he could eliminate a lot of those problems with that mobility.
No question, Todd. You lied to me already. You told me at the Combine you weren't going to do it, but you did it anyway. And I think it was a smart move, Todd. It fits Kingsbury. Put him up there now. Don't wait. Do it now, because Kingsbury's offense, I think, needs Kyler Murray. Obviously, the option of trading Josh Rosen then would happen, but it's a perfect storm for Kyler Murray that Cliff Kingsbury is now the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, too, how everything falls after that, because you've only got a few teams that really need a quarterback. And, you know, you've got Dwayne Haskins. Drew Lock from Missouri is starting to move up. And you look down, and it's 6 New York Giants. You've got 13 Miami Dolphins and 15 Washington Redskins that are really the only teams in the top 15 with clear-cut needs at that quarterback position.
Mel, Todd, we'll be back with you in just a second. Jeff Darlington joins us now, our NFL insider. And I'll ask you this as you sort of survey the landscape of the league. What do you hear about the real potential of Kyler Murray, #1 to the Cardinals?
Well, we were just at the scouting combine, and certainly throughout Indianapolis, people talking about the expectation that Kyler Murray will go #1. Cliff Kingsbury could not have known he was going to be the Cardinals coach with the #1 pick when he said that he would take Kyler Murray with that #1 spot. But look, there are some important factors that we have to consider here. First of all, they do have a quarterback in Josh Rosen that they just spent a first-round pick last year, a very high first-round pick on. So they'd have to be able to move him to somewhere else. Murray, though, certainly already understanding the system that Kingsbury runs, but they've got to have conviction that he is their guy.
Well, they certainly do, because not only did they use a first-round pick, they moved up to use the first round
That's
pick on
right.
Josh Rosen. He would likely need to be traded. So then the question becomes, what's the market look like for Rosen?
Yeah, he'd absolutely need to be traded. Now, you've got to go back to the assessments of teams that were just basically scouting this guy not but a year ago. And there are certainly teams that could look to pick him up. You've got teams like the Miami Dolphins, the Washington Redskins, teams in the market for a young quarterback. The one draw to a guy like Josh Rosen at this point, if you don't want to spend money in free agency, you'd rather do it through the draft, this is option C. You can get a guy who's still on his rookie contract, who's going to be cheap for the next several years, evaluate him on the pro level, and then make that decision. So if Josh Rosen were in this draft right now, he'd probably still be a top 15, top 10 pick. Suddenly, other teams in the NFL have the opportunity to pick him up.
Let's not forget he played behind one of the worst offensive lines in football
No
last
doubt.
year, so the sample size is small.
Yep.
Even so, he had the worst total QBR in the league, and the only rookies with the worst mark since 2006 are Blaine Gabbert and Jimmy Clausen, neither of whom lived up to the expectations. So Mel and Todd, I'll ask you this, and Todd, I'll start with you. Is Murray that much of an upgrade over Josh Rosen?
That's a scary list. I'll say that. I think Rosen, going back to that, is worth a first-round pick, though, still. I think it's an upgrade only, again, because of the scheme. Josh Rosen should be in a traditional pro-style offense where he's dropping back, working off of play action, reading the defense from left to right, right to left, and utilizing what he does best, which is understanding concepts, understanding where to go with the football, throwing with anticipation, and throwing with accuracy. Now, Kyler comes in and brings a totally different element, and he understands this offense and has been a part of this offense really starting, maybe before high school, but certainly in high school. So I think he is an upgrade because you plug him right in and he fits what you want to do. And if you're committed to this offensive system, which Kingsbury is and Arizona obviously has to be, then it makes a lot of sense.
No question, Todd. It's the system. It's perfect for Kyler. It doesn't fit Josh Rosen. It's no criticism of Josh Rosen. He's better, and I think as good as any quarterback in this draft, if not better. And he should get a mid-first round pick in return. But Murray fits Kingsbury ideally. And I think when you look at trading Rosen, if I'm the Patriots, the heir apparent to Brady, if I'm the Dolphins, if I'm the Redskins, I got a leg up. I got a guy with a year of experience already ready to come in and be my guy. He played behind that horrible line, as you said, with Kyler Murray. That line's not going to be that much better. So you need Murray. Kingsbury's already said how good he is. We know he fits perfectly. And then you can trade Rosen and get a first-round pick back, probably a mid-first rounder.
Todd, we're 50 days out. How much movement will we see in this top five or so, or the speculation of movement, if you will?
I mean, I wish I knew. I would tell you right now. But I think that you look at number 6. That's the key spot because everyone knows that the Giants need to take a quarterback. So if you're Denver, which I think is a long shot, Cincinnati, another long shot, but then Miami at 13, Washington at 15, how are those teams going to handle this process? Are they going to go up and get ahead of the Giants? Are the Giants going to be proactive, which I would be. If you love one of these quarterbacks, history has proven it doesn't matter what you give away. Look at the Eagles with Carson Wentz, Houston with Watson, and Pat Mahomes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Does anyone ask what they gave away to go get those quarterbacks? No. So go up and get your quarterback, and I think the Giants would be smart if they love one of these 3 guys to go up and get that guy.
Mel, you agree? I think Todd makes a great point. Nobody asks what you gave up when it works out.
No, I think the interesting thing here is Rosen. To me, Rosen, you can make an argument, is the best quarterback in this draft. And I think if you can get him for a minute, if I'm the Redskins, I'm going that way. If I'm the Patriots, have an heir apparent to Brady, I'm going that way. So I think Rosen becomes a guy that we're underestimating. And we always do revisionist history with quarterbacks. Hey, for what he was surrounded by, give him credit for hanging in there.
Yeah, no question. And Todd, round out the top 5, the rest of the top 5 for us.
Yeah, well, the number 1 player in the class, Nick Bosa, is now available at number 2. And so San Francisco really catches a break. Everyone in the top 5 is rooting for Kyler Murray to be the first overall pick. The nice part is you know that Bosa is healthy now. Only played 3 games this past season, had the core injury and surgery, comes back 6'4", 266, runs a solid 4.79. I don't care about the 40. I didn't care about Joey's 40 either. This guy can play football and can rush the passer. Then Quinnen Williams going number 3 to the Jets, another team that's thrilled to have a player like this. I went back and forth. I thought about Josh Allen, the outside linebacker, because they need an edge rusher. But Quinnen's too good, man. I just think he's too good of a player inside. He was the most dominant defensive lineman in all of college football this past season. And then he checks in 6'3", 303 and runs a 4.83, which is ridiculous at the combine. Then Josh Allen comes off the board at number 4. A lot of rumors about John Gruden. Are they going to go quarterback? Does he love Kyler Murray? I think you stay pat. You take a player that you need. Let's face it, they unloaded the best pass rusher in the NFL last year in Khalil Mack. They had a league-low 13 sacks. He comes in with a 4.63 40 at the combine and 14 sacks last year in the SEC. I think that Tampa Bay would be thrilled to have him, as they need an edge rusher, someone to complement Gerald McCoy inside.
All right, Todd, stay with us. We already have one quarterback off the board. The question, though, where will Ohio State QB Dwayne Haskins land? We'll tell you what we think next. Plus, it seemed like everyone ran a 4.4 over the weekend at the Combine. But what did those blazing times do for the stocks of some big-name prospects? Stick around to find out. We continue with our SportsCenter special, Todd McShay Mock Draft 3.0. And there's a look at the top 6 players, 2 quarterbacks off the board, 1 and 6, including at 6, Dwayne Haskins going to the Giants. And here he is addressing the potential of playing in New York.
Growing up in New Jersey, I grew up a Giants fan, so it would be a dream come true as far as being able to go back home where my family is and play for that great franchise. A lot of really great skilled players. So either way it happens throughout this process, I'm just going to be excited to be in the NFL. So of course, New York would be a great spot for me. I feel like it'll be very prolific. I knew Saquon since I was a sophomore in high school. We both went to the Rivals camp together and kept close with him. Talked to a few of the other skilled players, but I feel like they have a lot of great talent offensively, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Todd, in this situation, there hasn't been a lot of wavering. You continue to have Haskins to the Giants, so I'll continue to ask why that is a good fit.
I just think schematically, you look at what they do now, and Haskins fits that exactly. I mean, Eli Manning is a pocket passer who operates and functions inside the pocket for the vast majority of his plays, and that's exactly who Dwayne Haskins is. He's at his best when he can sit in the pocket, read coverages, progressions, goes through him full field, and throws really with anticipation and accuracy and timing. I just think he's the most natural, pure passer in this year's class. And if he's there too, Mel, you get an opportunity if you're Haskins. We know that history has told us that he's going to wind up starting at some point during the year, but you get an opportunity to see how Eli does it. How does one of these Mannings do it every day? How do they prepare for defenses and everything else that you have to do on a day-to-day basis as a quarterback in the NFL? I think it would be beneficial to him.
But it all sounds good at 6. This is the Giant team that picked second last year, passed on Sam Darnold, passed on Josh Allen, took Saquon Barkley running back. All worked out great for Barkley, but not for the team. They're still picking 6. They got to get the quarterback. Dwayne Haskins is a guy. Do they have to move up to 3 with the Jets? Jets have no second-round pick. They want to accumulate picks. Are the Jets and Giants going to make a deal? Will the Giants get nervous come late April that we can't just sit here at 6? We have to move up and get our quarterback. That's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Now, should Haskins be considered over Kyler Murray with that, or over anyone, I should ask you, with that number 1 overall pick?
Absolutely not. I think Haskins at 6 makes sense. If you want to go up and get him at 3, no. At 1, Arizona's only in the Kyler Murray sweepstakes because he fits what Cliff Kingsbury does. That's why they could take him at 1. Kyler Murray's not in this draft. They're not taking Dwayne Haskins. Again, they're going for a Nick Bosa at that point, or a Quinnen Williams. They're going for a big-time defensive player at that point. I think not the quarterback. I think Haskins is a Giant only, unless a Dolphin team or a team like the Redskins want to trade up ahead of them and get them prior to that 6th pick.
I agree, Mel. I think they already have a Haskins. Josh Rosen is their Haskins, a pocket passer who can operate just like the Giants want him to operate. But for Arizona, the only reason that you move away from Rosen, a guy you traded up for and picked at 10 last year, it's because you want a guy that knows the system and can fit in your system perfectly. I think that's Kyler Murray. It is not Dwayne Haskins.
Well, regardless, Haskins likely to be the first Big Ten quarterback drafted in the first round since Kerry Collins. That was all the way back in 1995. All right, Todd, that brings us to picks 7 through 9. Walk us through this.
So Jacksonville's sitting at 7. We presume that they're going to take a quarterback in Nick Foles in free agency. And so if that's the case, now you got to protect him. And Jawan Taylor, to me, is the most underrated offensive lineman in this class. Inconsistent early in his career, became a lot more consistent this past year. He's 6'5", 312. He didn't work out at the combine, but he is a physical dude at the line of scrimmage. Then, Rashawn Gary, the defensive end for Michigan. Listen, his tape doesn't always match up with the workout, but his workout was freakish, and he's got a lot of talent as a pass rusher. 6'4.5", 277. He ran a running back time in the 40-yard dash of 4.58. And then finally, DK Metcalf, another guy that is really rising. I know the shuttles weren't great. I know that he's got to become more flexible. You can improve on that. When you got a quarterback like Josh Allen, and you can throw the ball down the field like he does and extend plays, you're talking about 228 pounds running a 4.33 in the 40. We don't find many guys like that. The last 2 years, I went and looked at the combine results. There was only one guy, DJ Chark, who was coming out of LSU at the time, that ran in the 4.3s, and he was 200 pounds, 6'2.5", 200 pounds. You're talking about 6'3.5", 228, running a 4.33. There's not a lot of guys like that. I don't care if he can only do one thing, and that's run a 9 route. He runs it really well.
Todd, he runs the route tremendously well. You know about the 27 reps, the 40.5 vertical, and the fact that this kid, when he was healthy, was a dynamic down-the-field threat. The problem is, can he stay healthy? 2 of the last 3 years, foot injury, then the neck injury this year, only 67 career receptions. I always say you can't make the club in a tub. You've got to be on the field producing. And DK Metcalf, once he's in this long NFL season, can he be there for 16 games, hopefully plus some playoff games if, in fact, he's a Buffalo Bill. We'll see how that all plays out once he's in the league. But physically, he's had that Herculean build, awesome talent. He should be, after all said and done, in the top 10 of the draft.
He certainly turned heads at the combine. There's no question about that. Todd, 10, 11, 12. Let's go through those.
All right, let's start with Denver at 10. They need offensive line help. They brought in Kuiper's boy, Flickin' Flacco, Joe Flacco. Now you got to protect him. Jonah Williams comes in. I think he can play tackle in the NFL. I really do. I know everyone's going to talk about the 33.5-inch arms. It's below the 34-inch standard. But I think he can play tackle. Worst case, he's a great guard or center. So that's number 10 with Denver. 11, you've got Devin White, the linebacker from from LSU. Not Devin Bush. Devin White, who ran a ridiculous 40 time. These guys are running wide receiver times now at 230-plus pounds and at 4.42. Plus, he's a high-character guy going to Cincinnati. They need some leadership on that defensive side. I think he's a perfect fit. And then finally at 12, Green Bay, T.J. Hawkinson, the most complete tight end in this year's class. Everyone got caught up in the 4.70 40-yard dash. If it was 4.69, people would think it was a good time. What's the difference? He at 6'4", 3/4, 251 pounds, ran the second best short shuttle of all the tight ends. Plus, he can block, and he is a guy that is very versatile.
All right, still to come, we'll talk about another quarterback. Todd will tell you where he has Drew Lock landing and why Mel isn't as high on the Missouri signal caller. We begin with news from Kyler Murray.
The method is he's going to choose one sport, and that's going to be football.
The hate, the grind, the sweat, the blood, the time, my motivation. I work too hard, too long, and not be in the conversation.
Kyler Murray, an absolute dime. I don't care how tall he is. I want some of that on my football team.
He's the best quarterback you'll ever see at everything else except height.
It's my time in a bright light. Don't have a man, no mind to keep it pushing.
I got to go in there and prove to an organization why they should invest in me.
Motivation. Used to tell me that I couldn't, that's my motivation.
Well, we've made our way through 12 picks. Todd McShay's mock draft 3.0. Kyler Murray, as you saw, number 1. Dwayne Haskins is off the board as well at number 6. And Todd, in your previous mock drafts, you had the Dolphins opting for Murray at 13. So what now that he's off the board?
I think Drew Lock is in play. He's in play somewhere in the first half of the first round, and if it's not there, then it's going to be a team probably moving back up from the second round into the first round to get him. He's going to be a first-round pick is the bottom line. He's got too good of an arm. He improved throughout the year as he had more coaching that was pro-style coaching from Derek Dooley, who came in from the Cowboys, 5 years as a receivers coach, and became the offensive coordinator at Missouri. And for the first time in his life, he was realizing what it's like to play quarterback in terms of setting protections, reading defenses, getting everything in place from a mental standpoint. It took him a while, but as the season progressed, he got better and better. And during this post-season pre-draft process, Senior Bowl, Combine, he's been really good, and teams are really impressed with him when they meet with him in terms of his confidence in his ability.
Mel, what were your takeaways from his workouts at the Combine?
I thought he was going to be Nuke and Bull Durham and announce his presence with authority. I really thought he was going to go out there and throw that 99-mile-an-hour fastball and light it up. And, hey, I thought that's what I was going to see, so I was disappointed. I was underwhelmed. Looked like another guy. Now, maybe that's too harsh because I had high expectations. I thought it was going to be Josh Allen, John Elway, Burt Jones, and I didn't see it. Now, I had him in the first round about 3 weeks ago to the Redskins. Todd finally got him in there. I agree with that. But the combine workout to me for Drew Lock was underwhelming. I think he was finessing throws, trying to be too accurate.
You're a big arm guy, Kuiper. That's it. You're a big arm guy. He had a smooth stroke. He was throwing with accuracy.
Well, but you want to throw with accuracy with the arm. I didn't see the big arm, which is his forte. Show us your strength. Don't not show it.
Well, I'll say this, any day with a Bull Durham reference is a good day as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly, Wendy.
Todd, can you see a situation where Locke moves up?
Never say never with these quarterbacks, really. I mean, we're going to see probably at least one team move up to go get a quarterback, and so all of a sudden you start to feel a little bit of panic. You know, if Murray does go 1 overall, and then the Giants have to move up, or a team moves ahead of them to go get Haskins, then you get scared. So you never know. I wouldn't put him in a top 10 grade, but with these quarterbacks, honestly, you just never know. And with his upside and ability, I hate that word upside, but with his ability and the way he could be developed and the progress he showed last year in an NFL-style offense, it wouldn't shock me if he winds up being a top 10 pick when it's all said and done.
Todd, you saw the Florida game. I know you did down in Gainesville. He's at 75%, 3 touchdowns. He's doing a great job against that defense. There's a lot of NFL players on it. So I think if you saw Drew Lock mid-season late, particularly against Florida, you think he's a top 5 pick. Certainly right up there with Haskins. So I think there may be a team in the league that agrees that he deserves to be up there. So I'm not going to rule that possibility out.
All right, gentlemen, that time means we got to move on. Let's move on to some muscles, shall we? 4 of the next 5 off the board. On the offensive or defensive line, Todd has Clemson D-tackle Christian Wilkins, 14 to the Falcons. Oklahoma wideout Marquise Brown at 15 to Washington. Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell at 16 to the Panthers. Washington State offensive tackle Andre Dillard to the Browns. And Houston D-tackle Ed Oliver headed 18 to the Vikings. And Oliver, a colorful guy at the Combine over the weekend.
One day I seen somebody riding a horse down the street and I said, "Hey, Daddy, I want a horse." Him growing up in the country, horses not foreign to him, so probably about a month passed, and I had a horse. First horse named Caledonia, and I love that horse, and he got me another horse named Oreo, and I got into riding the Oreo, and I swear that horse tried to kill me a couple times, but fighting with that horse, really the reason I became fearless and why I'm able to go up and 6'5" and 300-pound guys is like it's a walk in the park. But you fight with a 1,000-pound animal. I ain't worrying about no 300 pounds.
Listen, I've heard a lot of explanations. That's got to be at the top of the list, Todd. Ed Oliver versus a wild animal. Who you got?
Ed Oliver, all day. Now, listen, this is the second Cowboy that we have in the first 18 picks. Devin White got to ride his horse inside Death Valley on the field. So, meeting with both of these guys, they both are country dudes. They love playing ball. They love riding horses. And that's it. And you love their attitude about football. I know Ed Oliver, all the talk was about the jacket gate, Major Applewhite and all that stuff. He really does love football. And he's not Aaron Donald in terms of the pass rushing ability. I think he's more like a Grady Jarrett, who with the Atlanta Falcons has been highly productive, great in terms of tackles for loss, never high production in terms of sacks, but always disruptive, Mel.
Think about Secretariat, affirmed over Alidar, American Pharaoh. What do? They finish races. You got to finish if you're Ed Oliver, get sacks, not just be a disruptor. And if he can get those sacks in the NFL, he will be a Pro Bowler. If not, it'll be a disappointing career. So I think Ed Oliver, be like the big-time Triple Crown winners, finish at the pro level.
Kuiper, you're in rare form tonight. I appreciate you. You got Bull Durham. We got Triple Crown winners. This is good. This is good. This is a good sign.
Not that far away.
That's right.
Listen, Secretariat, we got Oreo. Don't forget Oreo. You know, we're
good.
We're equal representation here. All right, several players crushed the 40-yard dash over the weekend in Indy. Find out which big-name prospects saw their stock rise in the state's capital. The NFL Draft is on ESPN for the 40th straight year, and on ABC for the first time ever, the ESPN broadcast our traditional draft broadcast. College Game Day will handle things on ABC as these folks graduate to the NFL, all coming to you live from Nashville, April 25th through the 27th. And here's who you'll see in Nashville. We've shown you picks 1 through 18 in Todd's latest mock. Up next, he's got NC State center Garrett Bradbury going 19th to the Titans, and Michigan linebacker Devin Bush at number 20 to the Steelers. Bush did himself a big favor with his 4.43 40 time at the Combine, and he wasn't alone. The average 40 time at the Combine, the fastest it's been since 06, and this is as far back as we have official results. The wide receivers turned heads with 7 sub-4.4 40 times, 2 more than the previous 3 years combined. Bush was among the 6 front 7 players on defense that ran a sub-4.5 40, the most since 06 as well. So with the Combine in the books, let's run through some players that saw their stocks rise and perhaps some that fell because of their performance. Mel, we'll start with you and Devin Bush after who you're buying after the Combine.
Devin Bush, no question. He gets a gold medal at the Underwear Olympics, the Combine. And then you saw him during the year, and I said to Todd numerous times, he's one of the 10 best pure football players in the country, now in the draft. So when you get one of the 10 best pure football players, then you get the gold medal at the Combine, that makes your stock definitely, Todd, rising big time.
And I'll go with the rival, Ohio State wide receiver Paris Campbell. To me, if DK Metcalf didn't do what he did at the wide receiver position, we would have been focusing a lot more on Paris Campbell, what he did. 6 feet, 205 pounds. He ran a 4.31 40-yard dash. Also had a 40-inch vertical jump and a 4.03 short shuttle, which was tied for the fastest of all the wide receivers in this class. Tape doesn't always show it, but I really liked his route running and the way he caught the ball during drills.
I'm going Quinn Williams, a guy who was arguably 2, 3, 4, once a big, always 2 for me. You can make an argument he's the #1 player in this draft. He had a great year. He's durable. He's a guy who's 6'3", 303, runs 4.83. Production, phenomenal. Consistency off the charts, and the workout was superior. Quinn Williams, I think right now, next time I do my top 25 big board next week, may be #1.
I'm going to go to Noah Fant, another guy that really helped himself. The other tight end, TJ Hawkinson, we talked a lot about him. He got frustrated this past year. Hawkinson was getting a lot of his targets. We go back to 2017, though. Led the nation with 16.5 yards per catch, 11 touchdowns. I've got him going 31 to the Rams. He's going to go somewhere in this first round, maybe higher than that, because the workout he put on after showing some of the production and flashes at Iowa, there's no way this guy's getting out of the first round.
Yeah, he runs. He looks so good at the Combine running, Ty, but I think when you saw him at Iowa, didn't always match the talent. I thought he wasn't targeted enough. Hawkinson got more of them. You would have thought 7 to 10 catches a game for Fant. We didn't see that. Hawkinson's an inline guy, plays with a lot of competitive juices, always flowing, energetic guy. I think Hawkinson, deserves to be a mid-first rounder, and I'm with you on Fant in the late first round.
Todd, there's 2 sides to that equation. What about a stock down player?
You know, Ja'Kai Polite, to me, was a player who I expected to see more from. And he's an edge player, defensive end, outside linebacker type. He flashes on film, explosive pass rusher. He comes in the Combine 6'2 and a half, 6'2 and a half, and he's bulked up a little bit, doesn't run that well. He's in the 4.8s in terms of his 40-yard dash, 4.8 40, 4.84 in the 40. And the interviews were confusing to me. I mean, he was singling out specific teams, like the Green Bay Packers, and saying, they were bashing me, they were coming after me, those sorts of things. I just thought you got to be a little bit more coached up, and you got to be a little bit more polished. He did not handle the process well. We'll see what happens moving forward.
That won't serve you well. He'll have a chance to improve his stock, though. Florida's Pro Day coming up March 27th. All right, more picks, Todd, as again, mock draft 3.0. Mississippi State defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, 21 to the Seahawks. The Ravens added their ground game with Bama running back Josh Jacobs at 22 and some protection, which is important for Deshaun Watson with Oklahoma offensive tackle Corey Ford at 23. But Todd, tell us a little bit about Josh Jacobs.
He's a fun guy to watch on tape. I mean, first of all, I'll start with the stuff that doesn't get noticed in the statistics, the blocking. This guy can pass protect. He loves going out even on running plays, kind of like Ezekiel Elliott, and just seeking out linebackers and taking them out. He's physical, he's tough, he's got a lot of tread left on those tires because he never was the full-time guy. But in crunch time, late in the season, when Nick Saban needed somebody to carry the load, it was Josh Jacobs. I think he's a special runner. I think he can catch the ball. You can put him in the slot. And like I said, he's going to block for you. He's a 3-down back in the NFL.
Nobody in the country at any position, I think, elevated their stock from the beginning of the year to the end as much as Josh Jacobs did. Damian Harris was supposed to be the guy, and he wasn't. It was Josh Jacobs mid-season on, and run, catch, block, run with a chip, runs with an edge, great body lean, finishes runs. Josh Jacobs for the Baltimore Ravens. They love Alabama players, even though Ozzy's not the GM. It's Eric DeCosta now. There's no question that he would make a lot of sense helping out Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, gentlemen, we cannot talk about this draft without talking about the Oakland Raiders, and that's because they have 3 first-round picks. We'll ask the question, does Todd have them hitting a home run in Mock Draft 3.0? Find out next.
I don't disagree. He's 6'2". He's 248 pounds.
Todd.
Who the heck is Mel Kiper Jr.? Mel Kiper who?
Great hands and even great greatness. Not to mention tremendousness. An amazing amount of amazingness. I haven't slept more than 17 seconds any given time preparing for the draft. I've said enough already.
This is impossible.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Perhaps no team has more pressure than the Raiders, their 2nd and 3rd round picks of the first round. Todd has them landing Washington corner Byron Murphy at 24 and Buckeyes wideout Paris Campbell at 27. And we talked about Allen and Campbell, Todd, a little bit before, but Byron Murphy, who you have them taking at 24, tell me about Murphy.
Yeah, the more tape I watch of this guy, the more I like him. And you have to appreciate his game, really. Paul Gunther's looking to be multiple on the defensive side for the Oakland Raiders, and that's what Murphy provides. He doesn't run the fastest 40. He's not the longest corner of all these guys, but he knows how to play the position. He can play in off coverage. He can play up and press. He can play man-to-man. He can play in different zone schemes. And if you want to do a lot of different things defensively, Murphy's your guy. So I think he's a perfect fit with the Oakland Raiders, and we'll see if he lands there. They certainly need help on the defensive side, pass rusher, and in the back end with coverage.
Yeah, that was Murphy, your wide receiver background. So when a chance comes to pick off a pass, he will. He's got really good ball skills. And I know that's something that John Gruden always raved about, Aqib Talib. For that reason, ball skills you need to be a Gruden guy, and Murphy has that.
Well, Mel, if the Raiders end up with the players that Todd suggests, then how would you grade their draft overall?
Be a good draft if they ended up with Josh Allen to make up for Khalil Maxwell, so you get the sack guy off the edge. You get a guy that can give Derek Carr that vertical stretch option in Paris Campbell that they didn't have. That's why he was thinking and dunking. The misnomer with Carr is he can only throw short. No, he can. He can throw deep as well. He's an MVP guy 2 years ago when he had some talent around him. And then you think about where you're going to go with the other pick, and then you get a Byron Murphy. You got Patrick Mahomes and Phillip Rivers. You got to cover, and Murphy can.
Todd, anytime you have 3 first-round picks, the obvious question is, do you package some? Do you trade? Do you move up? Do you move down? What do you see as the potential for Oakland to trade one or more of these picks?
I think there are a couple options. First of all, does John really love Kyler Murray as much as the reports are in the media? To me, are you going to walk away from Derek Carr? I'm not the biggest Derek Carr fan in the world in terms of what I thought he could be coming out of college, but he's shown enough. He improved late in the season. He's like the one thing you still have left as a building block. I would try to build around him. But if they go with Murray, then you're going to have to trade picks to go do that, to go up and get him, to assure yourself that you can. The other option is Antonio Brown. Are they going to be in the mix? We've heard a lot of different teams mention, John can handle some guys with some character and the type of receiver that Antonio is. So I'll be interested to see if they get in that mix. But if not, stay pat, Mel. You get a pass rusher, get a receiver, and then you can take a corner or some other player on the defensive side. They just need so many different things right now.
A lot of holes. And Gruden always used to yell at me. I'm always on trading down. He's like, he's got to call you to trade down, though. How many times he's screaming at me about that? We'll see if he does with Mike Mayock maneuver a bit. But talk about holes all over the place on his football team. And I agree. Surround Derek Carr. Give him a chance. He was an MVP guy a few years ago. He needs help. That offensive line with the 2 rookie tackles, healthier on the interior this year, should be a lot better next season.
All right, you heard
that
the chime.
That fancy earpiece, you didn't hear the chime, huh?
He just rolled right through it. He just rolled right through it. All right, play nice. With the Raiders' 3 picks, that brings us, Todd,
yes,
to number 28. So who do you have heading to L.A.?
Well, I've got the Chargers taking a big guy up front, Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle. He ran 140 at the combine, 342 pounds. He ran a 5.05. Unfortunately, he hurt his quad on that run and wasn't able to do anything else. A little bit later in the month, he's going to hopefully be able to work out. That's what he says. It's just a minor injury. We'll see. Durability's been an issue. Then you go to 29, the cornerback DeAndre Baker, Kansas City Chiefs. This is a really good fit in my opinion. Baker didn't run an elite 40, but ran well enough. He's a guy I think is the most instinctive corner in this class. He will support the run. He's got great ball skills. And let's face it, Kansas City's got to upgrade that secondary. And then finally at 30, Green Bay Packers take Brian Burns, the edge player. Now, the production was really good, 24.5 sacks. The workout was awesome. 4.53 in the 40, 6th in the vertical jump of all edge guys. 3-cone was 5th. 2nd in the broad jump. Everything across the board this guy did at a high level. The tape doesn't always match up. That's why he's all the way down at 30. But the Packers need an edge rusher, and Burns would be a good fit here.
Mel, what jumps out to you from these last few picks?
Dexter Lawrence, all the way at the end of the first round. Todd is a guy I think could go mid-first round. He could be a nose tackle. He could be a 4-3 defensive tackle. He was great late in the year in the ACC championship game against Pitt. He was dominant. I like Dexter Lawrence. I mean, he showed what kind of freakish talent he is. And I'll tell you what, you had 3 corners that run into 4.5s at the combine in the first round. Didn't have a guy who ran 4.3 in Greedy Williams from LSU. And Wendy, I guess Todd, for whatever reason, doesn't think Greedy is good.
I don't know about that, Todd McShay.
No, he's good. I'd like to see him. This is a little bit of the Gruden yelling at Kuiper thing. And I agree. You got to be able to tackle. And he is a buffet tackler. He picks and chooses when he wants to get involved. He pile in specs here and there. I want a corner that's going to be physical and get involved in run support. And with the screen game and so much being the short, quick game in the NFL nowadays, you've got to be able to tackle. And I didn't see a lot of that from Greedy. Listen, I'm probably a little low on him. I understand. He'll probably go in the first round, but I'm trying to make a point here, Mel. You know about that.
Yeah, this is a mock draft, Todd, not your opinion, pal.
Oh, buffet tackler, though. In my opinion, I like that, Todd. I like it.
Thank you.
An accurate assessment. All right, when we come back, Todd reveals the final 2 picks of his mock draft, and we'll take one more look at that #1 overall pick where Todd has the Cardinals taking Kyler Murray. NFL Draft on ESPN for the 40th straight year on ABC for the first time ever. The draft is also on the NFL Network. It all comes to you from Nashville, April 25th through the 27th, all 3 days, also streaming live on the ESPN app. As we make our way through Todd's 3rd mock draft of the season, here we go, Todd. 2 picks left. Finish us off.
Yeah, Noah fan, I had him going to the Rams. Listen, the Rams are probably, when free agency starts to shake out, going to need some defensive help. But I just think about this as a matchup piece for Sean McVay, the opportunity to utilize him. He's basically a bulked up wide receiver. You put in the slot, ran a 4.5 at 6'4", 249 pounds, and had a 39.5-inch vertical jump. Then you go to Irv Smith, the other tight end out of Alabama. Now, his numbers weren't quite as good in terms of like the shuttles and the jumps as Noah Fant, but I just like his tape. I think he's really good and excels after the catch. That's what he does best. He's a developing route runner. I think he would be a good fit there at 32 for the New England Patriots.
Here's where we landed after 32 picks. Kyler Murray, #1 overall for the first time in either of Mel or Todd's 2019 mock drafts. And after that, a whole lot of defense. 13 front 7 players. That would tie a record in the common draft era. We talked about the Cardinals and Kyler Murray at the top of the show. 50 days away now from the draft, so much can change. But I'll ask you this, Todd. A higher percentage chance the Cardinals trading out of that first pick or actually taking Kyler Murray?
I'll go with taking Kyler Murray at this point. I mean, I think they're trying to get some teams to potentially come up, and if that's what it was, and all the smoke in Indianapolis, then we'll see if it works. But at the end of the day, again, I like the fit with Cliff Kingsbury, his offensive system, the air raid, and Kyler Murray in the NFL, Mel. I just think, if that's the guy you love, just take him. You don't even have to go up and get him. You can just take him at 1. What you do have to do is figure out how to trade Josh Rosen and get some kind of quality value for it.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury, think about it. That was a Burt Blyleven curveball hire. So when you bring in Cliff Kingsbury, you say, hey, you got to make that call. You have to pick your quarterback. You have the #1 choice. You can take Kyler Murray. You have Josh Rosen. So you already have a guy, and you could have the other guy. This is Cliff Kingsbury's call. If he believes Rosen can do it, you stick with Rosen, you try to build that first pick up, and you trade it maybe to Miami to maybe want to go up to get Murray. However you slice it, this is Kingsbury's decision. And I got to believe Murray fits Kingsbury more than Josh Rosen does. And Josh Rosen, to me, has value on the trade market because he's arguably as good as any quarterback in this draft. You put him into this draft process.
Well, it's funny you say that. Also, Adam Schefter, Todd, reporting tonight that a number of teams inquired with the Cardinals at the Combine about the availability of Josh Rosen. Of course, trying to gauge their interest in actually moving the quarterback.
Yeah, and I've heard people say he's only worth a third rounder now. That's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. He was behind the worst pass protecting offensive line in the National Football League last year. He had a lot of youth at wide receiver, despite Larry Fitzgerald. I just think that he was in a bad situation last year. He will bounce back. Durability is the big question with him. It was coming out of college. But I think if he stays healthy, he's going to be a really good starter in the league. And I personally would give up a first-round pick if I'm Miami at 13 or Washington at 15 to go get Josh Rosen, Mel.
Yeah, those who were saying third round, Todd, didn't like Rosen going into last year's draft, and that's fine, that's fair, but they only need one team to feel like Josh Rosen last year was as good as the other guys, the big three and big four overall, to give up that mid-first round pick to him. I think it would be a real good choice of a decision if somebody did give up that mid-first round pick to get Josh Rosen.
And to think we thought we wouldn't talk as much about the quarterbacks in this draft. Gentlemen, you know it's always about the quarterbacks. Can't wait, Mel. I know you got a mock draft coming out soon or a big board. We will see you then. Todd McShay's Mock Draft 3.0.